Balogun speaking.
I tell you, good morning, colleagues. From history, democracy stands for Demos Kratos. It's an ethnic democracy started from Greece, originated from Greece. When you say demos means common people, the people. Kratos means force or might or right or rule. And it grew over the centuries. I think the Athens Greece democracy lasted for about 2 centuries before we had the reform in civilization changing to the democracy we have today.
Representative democracy.
Yeah, the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. When you see a political party in Nigeria say power to the people, it's just telling you democracy to the people. And what does it mean to have democracy to the people? The people decide who govern them and not who rule them. Now, let's be very certain. Choice of words, very important. The people decide who govern them. And when you talk about rulership, you are going traditional. And we have said over time that how can Africa, and Nigeria in particular, indigenize its own democracy, indigenize its own style of ruler of government. Obasanjo is just saying the obvious because is long overdue for Africa to generate its own style of governance. Europe didn't find it easy. The Western world didn't find it easy. That's why in 1845 they came to divide Africa, the partition of Africa, because they wanted to see how they can institute their own style of governance. If you look at England, for example, UK, they've maintained constitutional monarchy. With all the US strength of democracy and other part of the country pushing democracy, they've maintained constitutional monarchy. And one or two, 3 countries maintain constitutional monarchy. If you look at this, the English style of government, democracy is there, but they still respect monarchy. How can Africa embrace its own style? Africa is a continent that respects traditional institutions a lot. So if we respect traditional institutions a lot, how can we entrench the traditional style of governance into the civilized or the modern way of government? Because we have Christianity, you have Islam, we have traditional religious rights. If you have everybody represented in government, I think Africa can have its own style, which will benefit the common man and the big man. Except we want to change it, except we want to change it to elite democracy, elite-cracy. That is just for the elite. Because that is what it has become in Africa. The elite alone enjoy democracy.
Democracy is actually supposed to be a global product, and from what we know over time, with dictatorships across the country, US and others were trying to export that global product to certain countries. That's why they were supporting the civil society in Nigeria.
To entrench it in countries.
To propagate democracy, push against the military, and all of that. But you recall that, Balogun, in the First Republic, we had the traditional institution, for instance. We had the House of Chiefs.
We had the House of Chiefs at the regional level.
Regional level, yes. And they play the role in governance. Today, they will tell you the traditional institution does not have a constitutional role. They're just there, and some persons are claiming.
But they are being paid salary.
Yes, 5% of local government.
So how do you gather such people? You are sustaining them in office in their respective kingdoms or emirates and the rest, and you say they don't have value. I think we must be able to. There should be a process in which we can also be making use of them, and let's have them have input into. Let me give you one example. As a reporter in Kano, there was riot in Kano. It was a military regime, and despite the military with its might, they wanted to stop the riot. It was a religious riot, and they want to stop it at all costs. It's first day, second day, third day. Killings were going on, but the late Emir of Kano, Ado Bayero, went on air, on radio, and he made a 5-minute broadcast. And I can tell you, peace returned almost immediately. Everybody heeded his appeal and advice. But rather, they did not listen to the military rulers who are in Kano then. So you cannot come around and say traditional rulers, yes, they should abstain from politics. Yes, I agree with that.
Most of them are almost politicians today.
But the totality of it, even if they abstain from politics, is that we must have a way of how we can get their inputs into governance. since they are being maintained through taxpayers' money.
Which means traditional rulership in Africa has been brought to a disrepute. If you look at the issue in Kano, for example, the same judiciary that Balogun was talking about, how it needs to cleanse itself. The same judiciary they are using in Kano to bring the emirate or the traditional
the people that went to the judiciary.
dispute.
The judiciary did not come into it. It's people that took the matter.
Those days, when we were much younger, if you hear Emir of Kano, you are jittery, you are shaken. If Emir of Kano is
It's an
passing by,
institution.
it's an institution. The people, the subjects respect the institution more than even the civil, the government that's in power, because they know that it's like a father state, a father figure. Is like an advisor. It's like they see him as demigod, because they feel for you to be a traditional ruler, it's only God that can make you a traditional ruler, not any process.
Yeah, besides the issue of the traditional rulers, I think one other message from that program yesterday was, they did not make direct reference to it, but the system of government that we're running. When you heard people saying, once people get to power, they grab everything, they grab, and all of that. I know that former President Goodluck Jonathan had proposed that there should be more of a proportional representation. That once a political party has a seat or so in parliament, they should be able to produce maybe one commissioner, two commissioners, two ministers, depending on the number of seats they have in parliament. And so that's what part of the reasons. If you look at Nigeria, where it's almost a copycat of what the US is doing, even though there is a form of variation. In US, the vice president is the president of the Senate. In Nigeria, is not so. And then in other African countries, you see prime minister, you see the president, the head of state, and things like that. So perhaps it's also time to have a homegrown system of government,
yes,
in Nigeria and some African countries, that can make this work. The 6 geopolitical zones was part of it. I remember during the Abacha era, they were talking about vice president from the 6 geopolitical zones, and all of that, and so that if the president leaves office or impeached, the vice president from his zone becomes the president, and that is what the political parties adopted. Where if a national chairman is removed, the deputy chairman from that particular region takes over as acting chairman, and we seem to have some level of peace in the parties, except that some are also hijacking the power.
We need our own style. You see, like in Switzerland, for example, they have 7 provinces, and presidency rotate among the 7, just like the Bayelsa state. I think the Dixon senatorial district, they rotate. That's why Ben Bruce did only 1 tenure and left for someone else to take another clan, another
local government.
So that is how, if you have that understanding, yes, it is the turn of the north, it's the turn of the west, because no region is too small to govern Nigeria. The southeast have been clamoring, the northeast have been clamoring, the southwest is there, the northwest has been there, north central has not, yes, but you have military government all around in the north central. Babangida is there, Abdulsalam is there.
We're talking about elections.
So we need to have the 6 geopolitical zone which started during the Abacha regime. If we can grow that and say, okay, fine, let's have our style. Let's have 6 vice presidents, for example, representing all the regions. Wouldn't it make sense?
Because if
would the president be much more powerful in that case?
Wouldn't that increase the cost of governance? Because if you have 6 vice presidents, that all of them will have 8. All of them will have their authorities.
Then you collapse the parliament. You make it a unicameral system.
That's part of what most Nigerians are talking about, cutting costs, and all of that. But in the US, we have seen a president now, Trump, who, in cutting costs of governance, is a civil service that he is attacking. He says it's a civil service that needs to reduce its number of people. It's closing down agencies, closing down ministries, and all of that. So we need to actually, in as much as there are some misgivings, take a close look at, some of those